further it is related to the JP Morgan's model, model credit matrix. Okay, so that is related to the credit matrix, and further this model is developed by the JP Morgan. This particular model is developed by the JP Morgan, and further how this particular model is going to help us to calculate the variations, or how it can help us. Okay, so it focuses on estimating the volatility of the value of assets. So credit, whatsoever the credits have been facilitated or have been extended, those are basically our assets. That is the first point. Okay, and now we'll be looking at what point? We will be basically looking at the variations of the values that is related to the volatility. Okay, so if there is variation in the assets quality, that is the point where we'll be focusing, where this particular model will be focusing. And this volatility is computed by tracking the probability that the borrower might migrate from one rating category to the another rating category. So previously, as we already discussed, that the borrower was rated B plus, and further what is the probability associated with that the rating, the credit rating will be downgrading. That is related to that what is the probability associated with the what is the probability associated with the borrower itself over here, related to the counterparty over here, that it will either downgrade or upgrade, and depending upon that we can basically get an idea related to the value of the asset or related to the quality of the asset. Okay, so that is related to JP Morgan's model. Next, it is the credit risk. Credit risk model is basically developed by the Credit Source, and further this is one is a statistical model. This one is a statistical model, that is it calculates mathematically, and further it is used for measuring and accounting for the credit risk, and it is based on the calculation of the expected default rates, that what would be the expected default rate and what would be the unexpected losses from the default. Okay, so under the normal conditions we do check that what would be the normal expected defaults, and further related to the expected losses from default too. Okay, so it's a statistical method by which we do calculate, and further we do check for the defaults available, and we do basically have a probability related to expected defaults, and further we calculate the expected default rates and also the unexpected losses from the default. So we basically read about the different models. Previously we covered the Altman Z-score, and then it is related to the JP Morgan's credit metrics, and the third one, it was related to the credit risk plus only. Okay, then it is related to the credit risk control and monitoring. So risk taking through lending activities needs to be supported very effectively. Why it is so? Because it is a widespread activity. So if we look at the functionaries of the bank, what is the major portion it consists of? That is a lending itself. And further, because a very high share of the credit risk in the total risk taking activity of the bank. Okay, so if we say the banks are having 10,000 crore of the deposits, the bank is having 10,000 crores of the deposit, the bank may be investing 500 crore into the derivatives or under the other capital market investments it may be having, or it may be the case it may be having 4,000 crores in capital market and the other areas, other dimensions. Still it is investing 6,000 crores. Still it is using 6,000 crore for the lending purposes. Okay, so that is the thing it is about, that the credit related to the lending part, it is a mostly the riskier area for riskier activity for the bank purposes. That is why it is very much important, so as that there must be proper credit control and monitoring. Okay, so an elaborate and well communicated policy would be at the transactional level as well as at the portfolio level. So if we have already gone through that what is transactional level, what is portfolio level, so I'm not going to explain it again. So the policy must be articulated, and further it must be well communicated. Okay, so as to lower the risk at the transactional level as well as at the portfolio level. Okay, and further it is related to the active portfolio management should be there. So that if there are any dynamic because the economy is dynamic itself, so if there are any changes, we must be look at the portfolio, that how it is going to affect our credit portfolio. An appropriate credit information system, that is a CIS, is basic prerequisite for effective credit control and monitoring. So if you want to control and monitor your credit portfolio, you must be having a CIS, As in the case of the MIS, we were having the management information system. Now you must be having an appropriate CIS, that is a credit information system, that all the details related to the borrower, what was their history, what was their present scenario, and if there is any rating migration, any of the data which is required for the credit purposes must be recorded, and that can help you so as to monitor it and further so as to control it. Okay, then for the comprehensive and detailed MIS, CIS are the backbones of the effective customer relationship management system. So if you want to basically maintain your customer base, in that particular case, CIS and MIS are the backbone for the same. Is that clear? After that, it is related to credit risk policies and guidelines at the transactional level. So at the transactional level, at the individual loan level, it is all related to what? It is related to the credit appraisal process. First of all, it is related to what? It is related to when a single loan application is received by the branch, that how the loan is being appraised, because from there start the process of the risk management itself. So if you are doing credit appraisal in the standard manner or as per the guidelines, as per the policies and procedures articulated by the bank itself, in that way you can basically safeguard your bank from the credit risk too. Okay, second one, it is related to the risk analysis process. It is related to the risk analysis process, that how we are, what method or what models we are using so as to identify the risk. Then it is related to credit audit and loan review. Still, if the appraisal is good, still if you have used best of the models for us to identify the risk, there is still a scope that you may left some of the areas, and that can be covered, that gap can be covered with the help of the credit audit, which will be an independent function. Okay, so the loan review mechanism is an independent function. And fourth one, it is related to the monitoring process, that how do we further monitor our loan. And this is a continuous process. It is not like that you have sanctioned a particular loan, there was a good appraisal and that's it. It's not like that. You have to maintain the portfolio. So you have to basically look at the different factors of the transactional level loan too. Okay, so if you sanctioned a single loan in year 2019, it is not the case that you will not be basically reconsidering. You will not be reconsidering the fact that how it is performing right now. Okay. So it is an ongoing process. So there is a need to constantly improve the efficiency. So we need to improve the efficiency, and further that can be done by the credit quality of the borrower. So we must be identifying the credit quality of the borrowers, that what is the quality related to the counterparty itself, related to the borrower itself, that what is the quality related to it, that previously if it was rated B plus or A plus, now what is the rating related to that, so that we can cope up with that. And second, it is related to enhancing the default analysis. We must always be defining and looking at the different factors, different dimensions, that how we can identify the risks associated or the probability associated with the defaults. Okay, and third one, it is related to capturing risk elements adequately for future references. That point is already covered in the second one. Fourth one, it is related to providing an early warning signals. Likewise, there are the different standards as per the Reserve Bank of India guidelines related to the provisioning norms. That is, a loan before it slips to the NPA category, slips to the non-performing asset category, it basically first of all goes through the different phases of irregularity. Okay, those are basically mentioned under SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2. SMA 0, SMA 1 and SMA 2. Okay, now basically this is related to the irregularity category, that is the special mentioned accounts. These are the special mentioned accounts. When there is irregularity between 1 to 30 days, it is SMA 0. When 31 to 60, it is SMA 1. And when 61 to 90, it is SMA 2. Okay, that is how basically we can get an idea that this loan is going to be default. It is going to be default if it is not looked into properly. Okay, that basically tells us about the deterioration of the credit risk. This is only an idea related to it. This is a standard criteria over there, but there are other signals too. Likewise, if the company's current assets are reducing and those are not sufficient so as to basically pay the current liabilities, in that particular case that is also an early warning signal. Okay, if the company's DSCR is reducing year by year, the company's debt service coverage ratio is reducing year by year, what does it indicate? It also indicates the deterioration in the counterparty performance. Okay, so these are the different factors that must be looked into, and further these are related to the early warning signals. Okay, then further, credit risk taking policy and guidelines at the transaction levels should be clearly articulated in the bank's loan policy documents approved by the bank. So whenever a loan is to be sanctioned, this is to be sanctioned as per the credit circular. This is to be sanctioned as per the credit circular. It is not the case that the employees or the loan officers are sanctioning as per their own will. Okay, so there are credit circulars related to that. They go through the guidelines, and procedures for the same, and further these must be articulated very much transparently and very much clearly, so that each and every fact is clear and is not ambiguous. Okay,